Today on CityCast Pittsburgh. Get your Bucko shirts out of the closet. It is almost Major League Baseball's opening day. And if you're new to town, you should know it hasn't always been all family-friendly fun and games around our ballpark. The Pirate, Parrot, and a few actual swashbucklers have gotten into quite a bit of trouble over the years. Today, we're throwing it back to a favorite conversation about the Parrot's birthday, his backstory, and all the way these men behind the masks have done us wrong. It's Tuesday, March 26th. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. AJ Mass, you're a writer and editor at ESPN and the author of the book, Yes, It's Hot in Here, which chronicles the history of mascots. You have experience as one yourself. You were Mr. Met for the New York Mets. So as this established mascot expert, how did Pittsburgh end up with a parrot?
That's a very, very good question. How did they end up with a mascot at all is the more pressing question. There were no mascots in baseball for a very, very long time. In fact, Mr. Met technically was the first mascot. But in the 70s, San Diego is the place you have to go to. And there was a radio station out there that said, hey, it's the 70s. We got disco. We got tickets to give away. Hey, and radios with WKRP in Cincinnati. Radio is the thing. And they had a chicken suit. So they hired this college kid named Ted Giannoulis and said, hey, you just put on the chicken suit and hand out tickets at events and things like that.
Okay.
And it caught on. Ted just happened to be a naturally gifted performer and came alive in that suit. He gets popular. Cameras are always on him. And the chicken, the world famous chicken, the San Diego chicken is born. Other teams would start coming in to San Diego during the games. And the players of these teams were like, no one had ever seen anything like this. And they were like, wow, that's great. Why don't we have something like that at our place? And the Phillies were the first team on the East Coast to go, yeah, let's give this a shot.
And so they dreamed up the Fanatic? That's the weirdest looking thing.
It is. It's this green fur monster, too big for his costume, too big for the stadium, just a ball of energy. But that's what happens when you hire a costume maker who kind of works with Jim Henson, and they're into that whole Fraggle thing.
Oh, okay. That's a big through line then.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't really have anything to do with the team. And what's a Philly anyway? It's not a thing. It kind of just happened that he came around in 77, 78. That's when the team started getting good, was making the playoffs again. In 79, Pittsburgh was like, well, they're doing it. Why don't we do it? And so they brought...
I don't know that I love that Pittsburgh got this iconic thing from Philly. That's upsetting.
Well, I mean, it breeds success, success breeds imitation.
Did it breed success?
Well, it absolutely did, because in 79, the Pittsburgh Pirates decided, hey, let's bring a mascot here to our team. They brought Dave Raymond, who was the original Philly Fanatic, over to kind of train the new guy into how to do it. I think we are family. Sister Sledge, Willie Stargell, Kent Tekulve. You won the World Series. So clearly having a mascot works.
That year. It worked that year.
Yeah, that year. Well, yeah.
How did folks react to the parrot when it first got here? Did they take to it the way folks like the chicken?
Absolutely. And I think part of that is success. You're winning. You got this lucky charm. 2 and 2 equals 4 in the fans' minds. He's dancing on the dugouts. It's also the height of the disco era, and he's just doing disco dancing. Everyone's singing "We Are Family," and, he's dancing. And more importantly, the players loved him, not because he was a mascot, because of what he was doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, done well, we think of mascots as these fun, goofy creatures. They're good for an air horn or a photo op, or maybe even a lighthearted in-arena prank. But ours took a different path. Tell us about the Coke ring. There's no nice way to say that.
Yeah, well, there's this thing called an aptonym. I'm not sure if you know what that is. That's when someone's last name is fully appropriate for the job or thing that they do. So Cecil Fielder was a baseball fielder. Burt Beveridge is the guy who invented Tito's.
So Kevin Koch, then, aptly named.
Koch, who was the first Pirate Parrot, became a courier of cocaine. Coke, yeah, Coke did coke. A bunch of the players in baseball, but mostly on the Pirates, were using the mascot as kind of a courier to bring them their cocaine. So Dale Berra and Dave Parker and Rod Scurry, these are some of the players who would like see the mascot. Hey, we need a bump for tomorrow. And he'd go to his friend Dale Schiffman, who was a freelance photographer, sometimes was at the stadium. Dale would get the drugs, give it to Kevin Coke. Kevin Coke would give it to the players. And you had this drug ring going on behind the scenes that involved the mascot.
When were these deals happening? Because, like, I mean, when you say it like that, like, I mean, I think I even saw a rumor that it was being stashed inside the Parrot head. But, like, did they need it on the field? Was it happening during the game? Like, you can think of a million other scenarios where, like, they could make these deals that have nothing to do with baseball.
Sure. You would think also that, you know, they don't need to involve the stadium, but there were... It was a different time. They actually, it was one of the, it's one of the rare
time.
Well, but it's one of the rare instances. Well, see, when I was a mascot in the 90s and the players wanted nothing to do with me. Like, you know, I wasn't part of the team as far as
you were not cool.
I was not cool. You know, some of the players liked the fact I played with their kids, but, you know, other than that, I'm not going out to dinner with them. But in the 70s, it was a party era. You know, Kevin Coke became friends with the players. And so it was much easier for them to get cocaine delivered into their dressing room from a guy who had access to their dressing room that no one would think twice about being there because he was able to do so. You know, so he would get the drugs. He would deliver it to them. I don't know if he stored it in the costume, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Yeah, and then they'd all go out and party together. It was a weird thing that it wouldn't happen today.
So how long did that go on, and what was the fallout?
It went on for a couple of years. You know, players move around and everything. But 1985 was when, like,
it lasted that long?
That's when...
I can't believe they were able to sustain a coke habit that long.
Yeah. No, these guys were addicts, some of them, admittedly so. 1985, the FBI did a little sting. They took Kevin Coke in, and basically the Parrot sung. And we had a full-blown scandal. Players were suspended. But, you know, Kevin turned the state's evidence. He kind of basically got off with immunity. Dale Schiffman got a 12-year sentence for actually supplying the drugs. And the players got a year suspension and a slap on the wrist from Major League Baseball. So, you know, membership does have its privileges, I suppose.
Hey, Pittsburgh. I know a lot of Yins have been protesting lately, and if you want to get more involved in social justice but just don't know where to start, check out YWCA of Greater Pittsburgh's Racial Justice Challenge. It's the whole month of April, and you'll have the opportunity to complete one short racial justice activity every weekday, diving deeper into issues of race, power, privilege, and leadership. And there are different kinds of modules, so you'll get to explore ideas about bodily autonomy, financial empowerment, caregiving, gun violence, even access to transportation. Plus, you're invited to join in-person discussion groups every Friday all month long at YWCA Greater Pittsburgh in the South Side. Learn more and sign up at ywcapgh.org. So Coke might be our most infamous parrot, but he's definitely not the only one to leave in disgrace. Tell us about your friend Desi.
Oh, Desi. Yeah, Jeffrey DeCeter, who all his friends call him Desi, he became the mascot in 1996 when I was Mr. Met. So we would go to things like all-star games together or Billy the Marlin's birthday party. So we always used to hang out. And he was the kind of guy who had to be in control of every situation. He, would always like, yeah, we're going to the strip club and everything. It was kind of uncomfortable for us when we, were all ready to get together. And he brought his 19-year-old girlfriend with him when he's in his 30s. But anyway, Desi would get in trouble with the Pirates organization on the regular. He would get too close to women sometimes, and it wasn't always his fault. Like, I know his story is one time he got up to this young child and put the child's head in his beak, which is a thing that the parrot does, and it's funny. But, the kid was kicking him a lot, and he just said, "Don't effing kick me." And, the parrot cursed at me. And all of a sudden the parrot's in trouble. They were looking for an excuse to fire him, basically. And they didn't really have one until one day he went to a used car dealership as some sort of promotion and decided to, while in costume, drive the car around the neighborhood.
I mean, different photo op opportunities in those days, but still, yeah, I can see how that's a bad look.
Sure, especially when the cops pull him over for doing so because it's unsafe driving, and they make him take his head off to talk to him. And again, now you have the mascot who's unmasked.
Was there footage of that?
There were people who took pictures. Luckily, it wasn't full-on cell phone era, because otherwise everyone would have that footage. But yeah, people took pictures of it with cameras and stuff, and so that came around, and that gave them the excuse to fire him.
Yeah. Well, and so I guess back around the same era then, that's when we got briefly a second mascot, a human, a buccaneer. What was the thinking there? And I guess why did it go away? Because clearly we do not still have that today.
Yeah, I think part of it was just Three River Stadium was such a huge facility, and it was just a nice way to get a second mascot body into the upper deck.
Work in the crowd, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to send the parrot up to the upper deck when he's got to be on the field later. It's a long time to get from place 1 to place 2. They hired a guy named Tim Beggy, and very quickly after he got the job, and he was not in costume. This was just a guy dressed as a pirate.
Right.
And shortly after he got the job, he and his girlfriend decided that they were going to break into a public pool, and have some clandestine encounters overnight, and they were caught in the act, as it were. And he was fired immediately. It made all the press. Jay Leno was joking about it on The Tonight Show. And yeah, basically they said, yeah, let's just get rid of this character. It's no one really knows he's here anyway. Let's just erase.
Well, are there any pirate parrots that we can be proud of?
Oh, absolutely. I don't want to make it sound like it's all doom and gloom and avoid the parrot at all costs. No, there have been some long stints, in fact, with some really good performers. Tom Mosser was the pirate parrot from 88 to 96. And without incident, his backup, Mike Rechtenwald, as well, did a nice job there. Tom Mosser is actually an artist, does some beautiful sports art in the Pittsburgh area. It's been showcased in museums and stuff. He's really a talented individual, an artist and a mascot. Go figure. Also, Brett Gephardt. He was from 2001 to 2007. Again, no incidents at all. In fact, he was so respected by the organization that he decided that he didn't want to do it anymore for physical reasons, and the ownership allowed him to come back for one last game just so he could do one last somersault in the costume before retiring. So he did very well. He's a realtor in Pennsylvania now today. He's still getting it done, just not with fans watching and cheering him on. He still roots for the home team, as it were.
Wow, I never thought about what a baseball parrot does in retirement. So there's been some good, some bad, and you said this whole mascot thing was seen as a good luck charm at first, but then people started calling it a curse later. Was there any one thing that turned people off of the parrot?
I just think it's losing. It's losing.
I mean, that'll do it.
Who are you going to blame?
The parrot's the easy target.
The parrot is the easy target, especially like you said. You have your first parrot was a criminal, and then you had the incident with Tim Beggy. You can't win with Barry Bonds. It's one of these situations where we got to change our luck somehow. Maybe it's the mascot's fault.
I mean, my money's usually on ownership or the general manager, but sure, let's blame the parrot.
Like that's the thing. The fans, as someone who was a mascot, when the Mets were winning, the fans just wanted to touch me and because that's oh yay, go high five Mr. Met, yay, because they can't touch the players. They can't interact with the players, generally speaking, but I'm in the stands and I'm walking around. The parrot is walking around the stands. It feels like you're interacting with the team. Whereas from the team point of view, it's like, get off the field, man. You're not one of us. So that's the thing about mascots. We're kind of like betwixt the two worlds, but never a part of either.
Well, so where does the pirate parrot stand today? I know at some point it got a little bit of a makeover. I think I've only really seen its modern incarnation. Is it more liked? I've not heard people talk about it in super negative terms. I'm curious what you think.
I think, it's kind of funny because the pirates have been very bad of late.
But it feels less terrible to be so bad now that Kutch is back home.
I think Andrew McCutcheon is just such a great guy.
Yeah.
In fact, when I wrote my book, I sent it to Andrew McCutcheon for the possibility of maybe one of the blurbs on the book. And he wrote back to me and said, look, you kind of write these bad things about the Pirates, so I don't feel comfortable endorsing the book, but I love the book. So, but that's the kind of...
such a nice rejection.
Yeah, but it seemed like, and I honestly felt that was all. He just didn't want to get in trouble with the Pirates. Like, you know, but he's such a nice guy. And the fact that he's back now.
It feels different.
It definitely feels different. But when you're a losing team, there's two ways it can go with the mascot when you're losing a team. Either the only reason people go to the ballpark is because of the mascot, or people forget there is a mascot. I think in Pittsburgh, Chase, it's just easy to try and forget that everything is going on. It's been a pretty bad stretch there, quite frankly. I like the current team that you guys have. I don't know that you'll make the playoffs this year. I'm rooting for you guys. I mean, even when you lost, you were fun to watch because you lost in interesting ways.
AJ Mass is a writer and editor at ESPN and author of the excellent mascot compendium, Yes, It's Hot in Here. AJ, thank you so much for joining us on CityCast Pittsburgh.
Thanks, Megan. It's been a pleasure.
That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. The Pirates are kicking off their 2024 season on the road. So if you're looking to tailgate alongside the rest of the North Shore, you've got a few more days to get your plans in order. Bats will crack this week at 4:10 Eastern on Thursday against the Miami Marlins. And our home opener is Friday, April 5th against the Orioles. And y'all, if last year was any indication, it should be a very good time. If you go, please tell Kutch I said hey. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Talk to you soon.
Baseball, the extra padding really does help. It gives a little extra buffer because you're really immersed in the crowd. You're immersed in the crowd. You need a little space. You need a little something to extract yourself some situations.